Hi everybody, welcome to Leon's Chainsaw Parts and Repair. Happy Sunday morning. So, one of my good buddies, Dan, shot me an email after watching I think it was the last video of it was one of the videos of the 719 starter repairs, and he's like, with where you got your camera positioned, you're always fighting having your right hand block what you're trying to show us. Well, yeah, tell me something I didn't know. I'm being a smart aleck there. It's something, like I was telling Dan, I'll get immersed in one of these repair projects, forget that I need to show you guys something, then look up at the viewfinder and go, oh crap, how long has that been out of frame? So we were kind of chatting back and forth about where the hell the camera can sit. I didn't set this garage up with cameras in mind, I can tell you that much. So I've moved over to the left-hand side here, and as a result, my viewfinder screen is upside down because I've got to set the camera at such, well, I guess I just got it there. Okay, that's a little better. But I've got you guys basically right behind the chain grinder, and the chainsaw vise is just right here below it. So at least I can get a clean angle on the saw. And I'm zoomed in a little bit. So we'll see how this goes. Bear with me here. I don't know that we'll do this too many times, but depending on what I'm working on, maybe sometimes this will work. So this is a super easy that I've worked on already, which tells you guys something. I'm irritated to have it back on my bench. So Alan got it back. This is when we went through the carburetor on and got that all taken care of. He got it back, and he had it for, I think, about a couple weeks, and I got an email right before Christmas, and he said, hey, I was using that saw, ran great for about 25 minutes, and then all of a sudden it died. I was able to restart it once, and then I couldn't start it at all. Oh, crap. Because we went through just about everything that was needed. They had good, clean spark. Carburetor issues. I'm like, okay, this should be a slam dunk. Well, that's what I get for thinking. So based on his description, I went ahead and when I got the box in, just decided, what the hell, I'm putting fuel in it and I'm going to see if it'll fire. Because I need to see what the heck's going on. So I did just that and was able to start it. I think it was on the 5th pull. Might have been the 6th, doesn't really matter. The point is, I got it to start, but it was a little bit erratic in the sense that it sounded like it wanted to cut out, but it was an ignition sound. And you guys that have worked on these things for a while, or any engine, you start to get a feel for the difference between an ignition cutout or a fuel, either too much or too little fuel. You just kind of get an ear for it. Well, this sounded about like a wire rubbing against the ground, because it was that intermittent. You go to pull the trigger to rev it up, it idle okay, but rev it up and it was just that cutout. So alright, I was trying to think, because I work on enough of these that even if it's only been a month or so, remembering what I might have done on a saw is a little bit difficult. I didn't recall having the flywheel off. I've checked the video, that's correct, I did not. So I thought, okay, got the starter off, did a quick inspection of the kill switch lead. It looks just fine. I mean, it's still got good insulation on it. Didn't give me any reason to think that that was the problem. So I pulled the flywheel and immediately thought, okay, I guess I should have done this before, even though it had great spark and didn't give me any reason to pull it, because the cover here, when I looked at that cover initially, it was black. But it wasn't black from the outside, it was black from the inside. And that's definitely not right. So, okay, what's going on? Pulled the cover off, and the inside of this points box basically looked like an oil slick. It was black. Everything in here was coated black. And it's definitely not supposed to be that way. So let's see, is that... Oh, we want you to angle. And I think you guys can see pretty well. So again, it was full. Just everything in here was coated with a black oil. Now, it definitely wasn't bar oil. I ruled that out right away. Because bar oil, I don't care what color it is, it doesn't look used. You know what a used motor oil looks like? Well, that's kind of what this looked like. Only it had congealed, I guess is the best word. So that had to be residue of fuel. Now how the hell does that get in there? This cover has a gasket. Now granted, this gasket looks like crap, and that's why I was putting the silicone on there, because I'm going to throw that away and use the silicone. But it was intact. The gasket was sealed, both felt pieces, like so. This is the felt washer that goes on top of the cover here. That was in place. And there was no obvious evidence, again, of oil on the outside of this damn cover. So I decided I needed to pull this points box off and see what was behind it. Well, the felt behind it was completely soaked too. But again, that felt is contained within the back of this points housing, so realization clicked, and I'm like, that damn crank seal has to be leaking. Now, didn't notice it when tuning it. You know, that didn't seem to be an issue at all. But it had to have been leaking just enough that it was coming through that felt. I want to check the points. Yep, they're closing, they're gapped. There we go. So it had to have been leaking just enough for I don't know how long to come through the felt that's on the back side of that case and yeah, just coat everything in there. So who knows what it looked like before I worked on it. I didn't pull it, didn't, you know, who knows. Yeah, so I'm pretty certain that's what the problem was. I guess the point of that long-winded story is sometimes, even when you don't think there's a problem hidden somewhere, it may come back and visit you later on down the road. And in this case, that sucks because Alan was trying to use this saw. That meant he had wood he needed to cut somewhere. And he got, again, 25 minutes into it and had to stop. Now, hopefully he had another saw to use. I think he did, but that's not the point. He's across the country. And I should remember, let's see, North Carolina. You don't get much more across the country than North Carolina. So, yeah. I'll, at some point in there when I shut my mouth long enough, I'll put a picture. I didn't have the video running last night when I was doing this, but I did snap a pic of what this box looked like before I cleaned it up. So I'll get a pic inserted into the video there. Okay. Check. Oh yeah, that is gapped beautifully. That should be it. I'm hoping that this thing is going to run absolutely correctly with no issues at this point. Again, when your points box is full of oil like that, oil is not the best electrical conductor in terms of causing alternate arcing paths, but it'll definitely screw up your contact between your points. And I think that's what I had going on. There was enough voltage to fire at low speed, but not at high speed. Okay. It is 10:58. The neighbors aren't up yet. They're gonna be. Let's hope this works. are you doing? Well, that's better, but it's definitely not right. I don't know what it's doing, but that's over revving, and I cannot get it to adjust out. So, guess I'm going to go back into that damn carburetor. I cannot, it's just not supplying enough fuel, but that popping and banging, unless this switch is bad. Maybe I'll test that. Alright, got a little more diagnosis and we'll come back. Okay. I'm not satisfied. That is where it should be. So that was the carburetor was having trouble transitioning from the low to high speed circuit. So I set the fuel inlet lever a little bit higher. It was just a smidge low. And that allowed me to lean out the low side just a tiny bit, and that made the difference. But apparently the transition just wasn't smooth between the low and the high, and that's why it would clean up. It was getting so much fuel on that initial transition that it was basically flooding a little bit. You know, the high speed of the engine, relatively high speed, was keeping it from stopping running, but that's why it was in and out. So anyway, I'm going to let this thing, I'll do the customary. I want to let it sit for a day or so, completely cool down, and then I will do another cold start. And if it runs right on that next cold start, I'll get it back in the mail to you, Alan.